Hey, Coach Colin Castatello here with Shot Mechanics, and welcome to another episode of the Ask Coach C series. Today we're going to talk about, is a feet tilt good? We're going to talk about changing your set point if it needs to be changed, and we're going to talk about how you can translate your fancy moves from practice into on-game situations. So the first question comes from Candace O'Regan, and they want to know, in your videos you say it's good to shoot with your feet tilted, but my coach tells my team that you should always shoot with your feet facing towards the basket. I was wondering which would be better, tilt or no tilt. Love your videos, keep it up. All right, first of all, really great question. I'm really glad that you asked this, just because this is something that a lot of coaches are still doing. Generally speaking, you do want a feet tilt. If you look at the best shooters in the world at the women's level and on the men's level, they all shoot with a feet tilt. That's just the basic facts. You know, show me one really great shooter in the NBA that shoots squared and stays squared the entire shot, and you're pretty much not gonna find it. And that's just because naturally when you tilt your feet, it alleviates the tension of your shooting shoulder and neck, giving you a much more fluid jump shot. That's why guys like Blake Griffin and Ricky Rubio in the past have had some really big issues with shooting because they shoot straight up and down, just like that, with all 10 toes facing towards the rim. So that's definitely a myth. Probably the only reason why your coach is saying this is because that's what they were taught. And 90% of the time, a lot of coaches don't go out and find new information, right? So because they were taught to shoot 10 toes squared to the rim, that's what they teach you. So I would disregard it if I was you, but the thing is with coaches, sometimes they don't really like if you disregard their coaching. So you might have to kind of, you know, fake it just a little bit. So if they're around during shooting drills, maybe you shoot squared just while they're watching you. They walk away, you go back to being tilted. When you're shooting on your own time, shoot tilted. I guarantee you it will up your percentage if you shoot with a slight feet tilt, just because it's going to alleviate all that tension in your shoulder and your neck, and it's going to make your shot a whole lot more smoother. So I would definitely shoot with a tilt. Don't listen to your coach on that one, but at the same time, don't do anything to make them mad so they don't give you playing time. All right, so the next question comes from Twigsy2, and they want to know, hey coach, when I'm shooting my jump shot, my set point is off to the side of my head. I want to know if this is a problem, and if so, how can I fix it? All right, so this is something that a lot of shooters struggle with, so I'm really glad that you asked this question. And the set point, I think, is one of the really important things when it comes to your jump shot, because that's kind of the last guiding force before you begin your release. So you can think about if you got a ball here, and it's at the side of your head when you're getting ready to launch, all of a sudden, everything's out of alignment, right? My elbow's not in a line with my shoulder, and even if I'm turned, and my feet are still turned, everything's still gonna be slightly out of alignment. That's why I like to try to put it right here on my eyebrow. So generally when I shoot, I bring the ball up and set it right on my eyebrow right there. And the reason why I like that is because it keeps everything in a line. So basically, if it's on the side of your head, the only way you can get everything in a line is if you totally turn your feet like 90 degrees, which is maybe too much of a tilt. So I try to bring that set point over a little bit. Now, it kind of depends on your age and your strength, and a little bit of your other mechanics that kind of determine where your set point's gonna be. But like I mentioned, I like my eyebrow because that's perfect for my triple 90s. Some people like it above their eyebrow. Some people like it below, kind of down by their nose, chin, mouth area. But I would try to keep it in line with the side of your face right here, not off to the side of your face, if that makes sense. Because if you can keep that dominant eye, shooting hand, shoulder, wrist, elbow, shooting knee, all in line with the basket is going to keep your shot a lot straighter. So I'd move it over, and then from there, it's a matter of comfort. Do you like it lower? Do you like it higher? Some people like it really high if they have long arms, so it's really up to you. And next question comes from Nate Van Ryan. They want to know, hey coach, I'm 12. I'm a great dribbler, and when I play pickup basketball, I use all my moves and get fancy. But in games, I never have the guts to try them. What should I do? Ooh, this is a really good one. And it's something that I know a lot of people struggle with. You know, they work on all sorts of crazy stuff in the gym on their own time, and then game time comes and they kind of freeze up, or they don't know how to kind of translate that into the game. And the one thing that you really have to be careful with you know, fancy moves and that sort of stuff is a lot of coaches hate fancy moves. A lot of coaches are still really old school, and they don't like it if you're going behind the back and you're doing like a double under the legs really quickly, or a Allen Iverson crossover. So you want to be really careful that, number one, your coach is cool with the moves that you're going to do, and number two, that they're tight enough so that you're not going to lose it in game, because the number one thing that coaches hate are turnovers. If you're turning the ball over, especially if it's on a fancy play, coaches are going to go nuts. So there's a couple things that you can do to kind of make sure that they're a little bit more successful. So number one, you can dumb the move down. So an example that I like to give on this is like the sham god move, where you drop the ball out in front, kind of shuffle your feet, and then swipe it back across with the opposite hand. I like to do a dumbed down version of the sham god in games called the swipe dribble. which is pretty much the exact same, but instead of the fancy footwork and a little bit of the shoulder fake, you're just dropping it out in front with one hand, catching, pulling it across. It's a lot more safe. You don't hang it out quite as much, so generally it's not going to get picked or ripped by a defender as much as maybe the Sham God would. If you get a great defender on you and you try to Sham God with a little extra shimmy and you get your feet in there, they're probably going to rip you every time. So that's a great example of dumbing a move down to make sure that it can work in games. So regardless of what move you're going to try to do, or how you're going to break down your defender, the number one thing to think about is it's got to be concise, right? You don't want a whole bunch of extra movement. You don't want the ball hanging out really, really far, because those are the times that are going to get you in trouble. You also want it to be quick. The quicker the move, the better it's going to be. Just because if you're doing a move that takes a long time to develop, that's a long time for the offense to stall, that's a long time for you to hold on to the ball. Generally, coaches and teammates don't like that. So it's got to be quick, it's got to be concise, and I also like to have as few dribbles as possible. If you can do things as efficiently as possible, that's even better. So, try to do a move that you might do in 3 dribbles when you're messing around at the gym. Try to get it in 2 or 1 dribbles when you're doing it in the game. That way it's going to be a lot more concise, and it's going to be a lot more efficient. So, if I was you, I would just try to figure out a few different kind of combinations that you could dumb down just a little bit, that you could add into the game. Once you get comfortable, then you could start getting a little bit more fancy after that. And with this, like I mentioned before, it all kind of depends on your coach. If they're kind of cool with a little bit of fancy stuff and the flash and the flare, or if they hate it. I know my high school coach growing up, I threw behind the back one time in a game. It was good behind the back. We got a layup, and he yelled at me on the sideline and said he was going to bench me if I did it again. So it really just kind of depends on your coach and if they'll allow you to do it. So make sure you take that in consideration, because long story short, we don't want to get you benched. And hey, if you have a question that you want answered, leave in the comment section down below with the hashtag AskCoachC, and I just might pick it for our next week's video. All right, and also if you want to do me a huge favor, share this video on social media. Really, these Ask Coach C series are probably the most valuable videos I put out, but they get so few views. Most of the time they only get like 2,000 views, and we have 100,000 subscribers. And I know it's not sexy, there's not the NBA, move tutorials and all that sort of stuff, but this is a lot of the nuts and bolts stuff that's gonna get you better. So what I'd like you to do, if you can, share this video on social media. It could be Facebook, could be Twitter. You can put a little post on Instagram about hashtag AskCoachC. Something like that would help us out a ton, because I guarantee if people start watching this series, their game's gonna improve. And I also like it because I get a ton of questions all the time through email and social media and everything like that. And this is a good way that I can kind of batch answer them. So a lot of times the questions that I pick are ones that I hear a lot, or that are fresh on my mind or something like that. Don't forget, if you're new to Shot Mechanics 2, hit that subscribe button, because we're putting out 4 to 5 videos every week, and they're gonna get you better. Also, you can click the annotation above or the link in the description for a free copy of my top 3 favorite shooting secrets. These are dynamite shooting secrets. Already thousands of people have put them into their game, and are already shooting a higher percentage. So if you haven't checked that out, I definitely would, because you don't want to miss it. Again, I'm Coach Colin Castello with ShotMechanics.com. Thank you for watching the Ask Coach C series, and I'll see you next time.